I thought I wouldn't feel anything. Not after all these years. Not after the quiet blows, the bloodless wounds, the nights I lay motionless in the dark, listening to the silence breathe like a corpse. I thought my heart had died. But when I saw her in that faded, pale blue dress out of place at my daughter's wedding, something inside me slowed. Not pain. Not anger. Just stillness. Like the moment right before a storm breaks. She stood at the end of the aisle, slightly hunched, thinner than the last image I had of her. Her once black hair streaked with gray, loosely tied back. Her arms trembled just enough for someone who used to hide every crack behind perfect posture. No one had invited her. I had asked my daughter beforehand. Emily said, "Dad, I think she should be allowed to come. Just to see me. I know she messed up, but..." I just nodded. Didn't argue. Didn't speak further. I wasn't the man who fought over feelings anymore. The ceremony took place beneath the soft gold of a sunset, by the lake where Emily had learned to ride her bike. She was marrying a good man, quiet, solid, kind. I'd watched from a distance through the years, just as a father should. As the music played and the guests rose, I offered Emily my arm. She smiled, radiant. Her mother stood far back, gripping her hands tightly, her eyes wet but contained. I didn't look back. After the ceremony, while guests mingled and the piano hummed through the cocktail hour, I stepped out onto the lakeside deck for air. The kind of solitude only wood, water, and silence could offer. That's when I heard the footsteps behind me. Slow, hesitant, familiar in a way that needed no confirmation. "Michael!" Her voice barely registered. I didn't turn. I know I have no right to be here, but I need to say something. Still, I said nothing. I was wrong. I know I ruined everything. I'm not here to ask to come back. If you can find it in your heart, I'm asking for forgiveness. I turned. First time in over 16 years, I looked directly at the woman who used to be my wife. She looked older than I'd imagined. Not from age, but from regret. Her eyes were swollen, rimmed red, her lips dry, her fingers trembling as they clutched each other for strength. Then she knelt. Right there, on the wooden deck, bathed in soft golden light, between the laughter inside and the gentle piano music that wrapped the celebration. Please, let me be part of her life, just a little, even if only in her heart. I stared at her. For a long time, I remembered the day she walked away. No tears, no remorse. Just one line. I don't love you anymore. I need to live my own life. I remembered the night I found the gift box in the closet, labeled Beloved, and how I sat in the bathroom till morning trying not to make a sound. I remembered the way she brushed past me in the kitchen like I was a chair she no longer needed. I remembered all of it. I leaned down not to help her up but to say one thing. You're not Emily's mother. Her mother died. A long time ago. She flinched like I'd driven a blade through her chest. I stood, brushed the dust from my sleeve, adjusted my tie. You made your choice. Now you live with it. I don't hate you. There's just no room left in my memory for you. I turned and walked away. Just then, a taxi pulled up. I didn't look back. Didn't check if she got in or stayed. She had once walked out of my life without glancing behind. Tonight, I gave that moment back to her clean, final, and far colder than she ever imagined. They used to call me dependable. Not brilliant, not charismatic, just solid. The kind of man who always showed up, paid his dues, kept his word. I was the one people trusted with their keys, their dogs, their secrets. I never thought that would make me disposable. Growing up, I was taught to value stability build, a future with consistency, hard work, and a little humility. My parents didn't give speeches. They showed me how to live by the way they lived. Steady jobs, quiet love, groceries paid in cash, birthdays remembered but never extravagant. I carried that into adulthood like a torch. College, internships, a decent tech job in Chicago. I didn't chase glory, just wanted enough. And then I met Jennifer. Not in some romantic hazebutt at a fraternity party I didn't want to be at. She was leaning against a railing, bored out of her mind, trying to look invisible. We were both background noise in a loud room. That's how it started. She wasn't striking, but she had presence, stillness in a world of chaos. I asked if she wanted some air, and she didn't roll her eyes like most would. We walked in silence for 5 minutes before she said, "Thank you." We started talking, then studying together, then, slowly, serious lie dating. She liked the way I listened, said it made her feel seen. I liked the way she focused like when she was with you. Everything else dimmed. We were two quiet people who found something rare in each other. It felt real. After graduation, we moved in together. Took a cheap apartment in Lincoln Park, surviving off her marketing job and my mid-level tech salary. Life was tight, but we had Friday night movies. Takeout on the floor. That feeling of being in it together. Then came the promotions. The house. The 2 kids. The dog. The routine. We didn't become rich. Just comfortable. We were the people others described as a strong couple. The ones who had it figured out. I was the financial planner, the homework checker, the weekend pancake guy. She ran the calendar, the playdates, the holidays. We were a team. At least, I thought so. We hit our 15th year married with 2 healthy kids and a decent 401k. I still remember thinking, we made it. And then, I noticed her pulling away. It was slow. Her hours at the office stretched longer. Her phone was always face down. Conversations grew shorter. Her LaFonts so easy felt, rehearsed, polite. But I didn't press. I assumed it was stress. I cooked more, took over bedtime routines, gave her space. On my birthday, she forgot the cake. Handed me a wrapped box with a generic happy birthday card inside. The gift? A digital watch that looked like it came from a gas station clearance bin. I thanked her, kissed her forehead, and went to bed wondering where she had gone. 2 days later, I found another box. A pink one, hidden behind old towels in the linen closet. Inside, cologne I didn't wear. A handwritten note. To my beloved happy birthday, A. My name doesn't start with A. I didn't confront her. Not right away. Instead, I sat with it, watched her movements, noticed the smiles she saved for her texts, the change in perfume, the new lingerie that never made it into our bedroom. I started logging things, not obsessively strategically. See, I was a programmer once. I understand patterns. When a system breaks, you don't scream. You debug. For weeks, I collected receipts, copied messages when I could, noted down every inconsistency. It wasn't paranoia. It was process. When I had enough, I saw the pattern. And at the center of it was Alan Henderson, her boss. I met him once at a company dinner. Slick. Overconfident. The kind of man who said, bro, unironically, and complimented my wife's dress while shaking my hand. I hated him instantly. Not out of jealousy, but because I knew exactly who he was. And I knew he saw me as nothing. A few months later, she said she wanted a divorce. I said, okay. She blinked. Surprised. Maybe she expected a fight. Maybe she hoped for begging. I gave her neither. Instead, I made coffee, packed the kids' lunches, and told her I'd handle dinner that night. That was the moment she lost control of the narrative. She thought she was making the choice, but I had already started writing the ending. Quietly. Precisely. Like code. It was a Tuesday. Nothing special, just another day pretending not to notice the weight in the room. The kids had finished their homework. The house was quiet. Jennifer was, as usual, working late. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the spreadsheet I'd compiled. Dates, receipts, mileage, expenses that didn't add up, and a pink box I hadn't touched since I found it. I wasn't obsessing. I was calculating. See, betrayal isn't an explosion. It's erosion grain by grain, moment by moment, until you wake up realizing the ground beneath you is gone. That night, I decided to do something unusual. I cooked her favorite meal: steak, medium rare, garlic mashed potatoes, grilled asparagus, red wine she liked. The kids helped me set the table. They were excited. It was my birthday, after all. She came home 2 hours late. No apology. Just a peck on the cheek and a vague excuse, something about client revisions running over. I didn't ask questions. Didn't even flinch. Instead, I poured her wine, pulled out her chair, and smiled. Dinner went finny on the surface. The kids were cheerful. Jennifer played along. But I noticed the way she checked her phone under the table, the way her laughter didn't quite reach her eyes. After dinner, the kids cleared the plates and headed upstairs. That's when I handed her the pink box. Her expression flickered barely a second, but I caught it. "What's this?" she asked. "Something you forgot to give me," I said. She stared at it, then at me, then laughed, a little too high-pitched. "Oh, that. Silly me. I must have bought it and forgotten where I hid it." "Must have," I said. She didn't open it, just set it aside and changed the subject. We watched a movie together, or rather the screen played while she scrolled her phone and I pretended not to notice. At midnight, she stood up, kissed my cheek again, and whispered, "Happy birthday, Michael," before disappearing upstairs. I sat there a while longer, alone with the glow of the television and the taste of bitterness in my mouth. That night, I didn't sleep. 2 days later, I opened the box. Inside, men's cologne I'd never worn, a card addressed simply to Beloved, and a receipt. It had been bought 3 weeks early on a day she claimed she was out buying school supplies with our daughter. I stared at the receipt longer than I should have. Not because I was shocked, but because I wasn't. It's strange when you expect a wound, the cut doesn't sting the same. I didn't confront her. Not then. I had no interest in dramatic scenes or messy accusations. I wasn't interested in watching her lie. Instead, I turned inward, like a machine resetting. That week, I pulled out our financial records, bank statements, savings accounts, retirement, college funds, all of it, and I started planning. I stopped contributing to the joint account, started redirecting paychecks into a private LLC under a different name. I transferred ownership of my car to a trust. I opened an education account for the kids that required both parents' signatures for withdrawal. Jennifer never asked why. She just signed what I gave her. I told her I was working overtime. Truth was, I had already quit my job. I didn't need it anymore. A month later, I hired a private investigator. His name was Carl. Veteran. Quiet. Efficient. No judgment. I handed him a folder and said, "I want the truth. Nothing more. No theatrics." Within a week, I had photos. Jennifer and Alan. In restaurants. At his condo. Sometimes. Just parked in her car, kissing like teenagers. Carl delivered everything. Timestamps. Addresses. Summaries. When I flipped through the photos, I didn't feel pain. I felt clarity. Confirmation. Control. She was sloppy. Too comfortable. That told me everything I needed to know. She thought I was harmless. She had no idea. I didn't mention the photos. Didn't change my behavior. I played the part. Dinner. Dishes. Parenting. She barely noticed my silence. She thought distance was just part of aging, part of routine. She was wrong. I wasn't drifting. I was calculating. Every move, every signature, Every subtle asset shift, I turned our life into a chessboard. And I made sure she never saw the checkmate coming. On our anniversary, she forgot. Said she had a client retreat. Didn't even try to lie well. I took the kids camping. Taught them how to start a fire. We fished. We talked about stars. We laughed. And when they fell asleep, I sat by the fire and looked up at the sky and thought to myself, she thinks I'll break. But I don't bend anymore. I sharpen. I didn't rage. Didn't scream. Didn't touch a single thing she owned. Instead, I waited. Revenge isn't about fury. It's about timing. It's about patience, so precise it looks like apathy. Jennifer thought she'd won. Thought I'd accepted our silent decay as inevitable. She thought I was just fading. And to her credit, I played my role well. I smiled at dinner. Nodded when she mentioned work trips. Was too tired when she offered sex. She assumed I'd gone numb. She had no idea I was rebuilding a war machine behind my quiet. First, I liquefied the future. I drained half our joint savings, not enough to alert her, but enough to cripple her if things turned. I redirected the mortgage payments through a shell company I set up online. To her, the house was still ours. To me, it had a new owner with my name on the back end. Then came the credit. I opened a personal line with a separate bank. Bought a luxury SUV in cash. Enrolled in an executive MBA program I never planned to finish. Over $100,000 gone in paper. But in reality, it was stashed. Split between a safety deposit box, 3 crypto wallets, and a safe behind drywall in the garage. She never noticed. Never asked. She thought I was finding myself. Some midlife phase. Let her think it. Next came the surveillance. Carl, the same investigator who caught her affair, expanded the scope. We tracked her schedule. Her new lovers. Not just Alan anymore, but a rotating door of client meetings and marketing leads. Carl was methodical. Photos. Logs. Even phone recordings when legal. It was excessive. But I wasn't gathering evidence. I was building leverage. Not for a courtroom. For everything after. By the time she filed for divorce 6 months later, I was ready. She handed me the papers one morning over coffee. No eye contact. I think this is best, she said. I nodded. Flipped through them without blinking. She wanted the house. Joint custody. Alimony. Child support. 50% of all current and future assets. I laughed. Not loud, just enough. She tilted her head. What's funny? You filed too late, I said. Check your email. While she slept the night before, I'd sent my counter petition. Infidelity. Parental alienation. Asset manipulation. Civil lawsuits against her employer and 3 of her partners. I had names. Photos. Dates. A signed NDA from a former coworker who left their company because of Jennifer's inappropriate behavior. She skimmed the email. Her fingers trembled. You wouldn't, she whispered. I already did. The fallout started immediately. Her company suspended her pending investigation. Her lawyer dropped her once I filed formal complaints with 3 regulatory boards. 2 of her lovers were married. 1 was a client. All of them received legal notices within the week. The real hit came when I sent a curated USB drive full of documents, images, and audio to her parents and best friend. Not out of cruelty. Out of principle. They deserved to know the whole story. Not just her sanitized version. Her father called me. Didn't even wait for me to speak. She's not our daughter anymore. Jennifer tried to push back. She cried. Screamed. Tried to seduce me one night after the kids were asleep. I stood there as she undressed. Watched her desperation bloom into shame. I want to come home, she whispered. This isn't your home, I said. It's your ex-husband's fortress. She wrapped her arms around herself, like that would make her invisible. I made mistakes. No, I said. Mistakes are typos. You wrote an entirely different story. She stopped showing up after that. I didn't chase. Didn't explain to the kids. Just let her fade. In the court hearing, I was calm. My lawyer laid out the timeline, presented the evidence. She didn't have much of a defense. I got primary custody. She got visitation supervised, twice a month. No alimony. Minimal split. She left with clothes, personal effects, and a used sedan I'd signed over in a moment of pure indifference. And when it ended, she looked at me one last time. No hatred. Just disbelief. As if she'd only just realized the man she left behind had become a man she couldn't predict anymore. She walked out of that courthouse alone. Exactly the way she'd walked out of our marriage. But this time, I had already closed the door behind her. After the court ruling, she disappeared for a while. I heard rumors. She was living out of a friend's guest room. She applied for a job in another city, got rejected. She tried to stay with one of her former lovers, but his wife found out. That ended with screaming in a parking lot and a restraining order. I didn't care. Not anymore. My house was quiet. My children were safe. Dinner was warm. The air, peaceful. Until she showed up at my door again. It was a Sunday. I was helping Emily with a school project. Jacob was watching something in the living room. We were living. She rang the doorbell like she still belonged here. I opened the door. She stood there thinner, paler, with dark circles under her eyes. Wearing a coat 2 sizes too big, holding a purse like it was her only possession. "Can we talk?" she asked. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. "Not here. Please, Michael. You don't get to say my name like that." She flinched. "I just want to apologize," she said. "I was lost." "You weren't lost," I replied. "You took a road. I warned you where it led. You liked the view better." Tears welled up. "You're going to ruin me," she whispered. I stared at her, emotionless. "God, I hope so." She broke. Right there on the front porch. Sank to the concrete. Covered her face. Mumbled apologies between sobs that didn't sound real anymore. I didn't touch her. Didn't offer a hand. I let her sit there alone until the sky began to darken and the cold crept into her bones. Then I spoke. "You're not here for an apology," I said. "You're here because your last lifeboat sank." She didn't answer. "I gave you the dignity of silence. You should have left it that way." Still nothing. So I walked inside. And I locked the door. The next day, she called the school pretending to be me asking about our daughter's schedule. The school called me immediately. I forwarded the message to my attorney. We filed an emergency motion to block unsupervised contact. That same week, she was evicted from her friend's apartment. Apparently, betrayal doesn't come with rent forgiveness. She filed a motion for reconsideration in family court. Denied. She tried to contact me directly, emails, messages, even a handwritten letter left on my windshield. I never responded. She started showing up outside the school. Not close, not threatening, just visible, like a ghost begging to be noticed. I informed the administration, had security cameras adjusted. Still, she lingered, even as the snow started to fall. I watched her once from the window of my SUV. She was wearing the same coat, now dirty at the hem. Shoes soaked. Face drawn. And for a brief second, I felt something. Not sympathy. Pity. But pity has a short half-life. And I had more important things to do. In February, I got the news. Jennifer had been fired from her latest job for cause. Someone had found the old reports. The photos. The stories. It wasn't me. I didn't send anything this time. The world had caught up to her all on its own. She called me again. Voicemail this time. Please, I have nowhere left to go. I miss the kids. I miss you. Delete. I didn't miss her. I missed the woman she used to pretend to be. But that woman never existed. And the one I once loved had worn her face like a mask. In March, the kids got an invitation. Their mother wanted to see them. Just once. For Emily's birthday. They asked me. I said yes. But I came too. We met at a park. Neutral ground. She brought cupcakes in a reused plastic container. She looked smaller somehow. The kids were kind, polite, but the warmth was gone. They'd grieved her already quietly, in their own way. After 30 minutes, Emily stood up and said, "We have homework." Jennifer nodded. "I understand." They left. I stayed. She looked at me, eyes empty. "Do they hate me?" "No," I said. "They just don't need you anymore." She nodded. "I deserve that." I stood up. "You deserve worse. But I'm not that man." She looked like she wanted to say more, but I didn't give her the chance. I walked away. She didn't follow. That's when I knew the war was over. And I had won. The divorce had been signed. The custody settled. The war was technically over. But I wasn't done. See, survival is one thing. Restoration is another. She burned my house down. I didn't just rebuild it. I reinforced it brick by brick, with steel and spite. After the court ruling, I went quiet. Let her sink under her own weight. But behind the scenes, I was active. 3 of the companies her clients worked for had reputations to protect. I sent carefully worded letters, not threats, not accusations. Just questions. Attached to time-stamped images. Screenshots. Meeting overlaps. No lawsuits were necessary. They folded fast. One issued a public apology and a quiet settlement. Another terminated 3 employees. The third tried to deny involvement. Until I leaked the story anonymously to a blog that covered workplace ethics. They bled in silence. Alan Henderson, her boss, lost his position within the quarter. I heard he relocated to Miami, changed his last name. Apparently, reputation matters when your job depends on trust. I didn't get a cent from him, but I got something better. Irrelevance. Meanwhile, I rebuilt. Not just my life. My name. I returned to my old industry, slowly at first. Freelance contracts. Consulting. Then, after one good project went viral, I was asked to join CTS again. Not as a programmer, as VP of Design and Development. The same company that once let me go now paid me triple to come back. I didn't take pleasure in it. I took position. I created a software add-on, a clean, elegant tool that made integration seamless between competing platforms. Within 6 months, 2 major firms licensed it. The money poured in, but I'd stopped caring about numbers. What I cared about was control. At home, I kept everything stable. The kids adjusted faster than I thought they would. They missed her at first, of course. But children don't hold on to ghosts for long. Not when you give them structure. Not when you cook their favorite meals and listen without your phone in hand. We built a rhythm. Dinner at 6. Homework at 7. Games or reading after. Emily liked puzzles. Jacob liked coding. I gave them both. I wasn't perfect. Some nights, I broke inside and no one saw. But the house stayed warm. The lights stayed on. And the kids, they smiled. That was enough. Eventually, I hired help. An older woman named Marlene Jensen. Widowed. No children. She moved into the upstairs apartment above the garage and became the family. She helped with laundry, school pickups, taught my daughter how to braid her hair, taught me how to breathe when the nightmares still came. She never asked about Jennifer, but one evening, she caught me staring too long at the driveway. Still waiting for her to knock again? She asked. No, I said, just remembering the silence. Marlene nodded. She took too much from you. She took the version of me that trusted easily. Marlene looked at me for a long time. She didn't take your children. She didn't take your future. And she didn't take your name. That's more than most survivors can say. I looked at her. And for the first time in years, I said the truth out loud. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just finished. Jennifer tried, once more, to contact me. Not through the courts. Not through family. Through a man. A stranger knocked on my door one afternoon. Young, nervous, dressed like he borrowed confidence from someone else. Are you Michael Smith? He asked. Yes. He handed me a letter. She says she's sorry. That she's sick. She wants to say goodbye. I read the letter. 2 pages of handwriting I hadn't seen in years. Familiar loops. Smudges where the ink blurred. But it didn't move me. I folded it and put it in a drawer. I never responded. She didn't write again. The kids grew. Graduated. Moved on. I stayed in the house. Alone, but not lonely. Some nights, I sat by the window with coffee, watching the driveway, not out of hope, just memory. Jennifer's name faded from our daily language. No bitterness, just absence. She became a shadow we no longer walked through. And one morning, I realized I'd won, not because I broke her, but because she no longer had the power to break me. Not even close. It had been 16 years. Since the divorce. Since the fallout. Since the last voicemail she ever left but never returned. In that time, I built a new life. Not perfect, not loud. Just mine. The kids had grown. Emily was getting married. Jacob had a job offer on the West Coast. We talked every weekend. They asked fewer questions about their mother as the years passed. I didn't hide anything, but I didn't offer more than they needed. They found her again in their 20s. Reached out on their own terms. I didn't stop them. I had no right to control who they forgave. Emily's wedding was small, elegant, held in a restored chapel just outside the city. She asked me to walk her down the aisle. Of course, I said yes. A week before the ceremony, she sat across from me at the kitchen table and said, Dad? I invited her. I didn't flinch. She asked if she could come, just as a guest. I said yes. I sipped my coffee. That's your choice. I thought you should know. I nodded. Nothing more needed saying. The day of the wedding, the sky held a soft gray, the kind that made light feel heavier. Emily was radiant. Her groom, steady and sweet. Jacob stood as best man. Marlene, now in her late 70s, sat in the front row, dabbing her eyes with a lace handkerchief. And then, halfway through the ceremony, I saw her. Jennifer, sitting alone, back pew, wearing a navy blue dress modest, unremarkable. Time had not been kind. The glow she once carried was long gone. Her shoulders hunched, cheeks sunken. She looked smaller than I remembered. I didn't look twice. After the ceremony, while guests mingled and laughter filled the air, I stepped outside for a moment of quiet. I don't know why I expected her to follow, but she did. She walked slowly, as if her body remembered being beside mine, but her soul knew the distance was too far. Michael. I turned. She didn't speak right away, just stood there, twisting her hands like someone preparing for judgment. You look good, she said finally. I am. She nodded. I know I have no right to be here, but thank you for letting me see her, just once. She's not yours to see, I replied. She invited you, I didn't. Jennifer swallowed. Her throat moved like it hurt to breathe. I don't want anything. That's good, I said. Because you don't have anything left to take. Her eyes welled, but no tears fell. I ruined it all, didn't I? Yes. I wish I could go back. You can't. I think about it all the time. I don't. That silenced her. She stood there for a moment, blinking fast, like she was trying to hold back something fragile. Then she said it. Do you hate me? I looked at her. Not with rage. Not with the sharpness I once carried. Just calm. Number. She looked stunned. I don't hate you, I said again. Hate takes effort, and I haven't put effort into you in a long, long time. She opened her mouth, but I wasn't done. I don't think about you. I don't ask how you are. I don't tell stories about our past. You don't live anywhere in my present. She looked like I'd slapped her. Then I leaned in, just close enough for her to hear. But I forgive you. She blinked, stunned. Why? Because I won. Because I walked through fire and came out cleaner than you ever imagined. Because I raised our children without you and did it better than we ever did together. Because I built something lasting. Because I'm free. She stood in silence, letting those words hang between us. I'm sorry, she said. I know, I replied, but that apology isn't for me anymore. She looked down at her hands wrinkled now, ringless. I thought I'd get to grow old with someone, she whispered. You did, I said, and then you traded him for a fantasy. I turned to go. She didn't follow. She didn't call my name. She just stood there, alone, and I let her. As I got into the car, my driver greeted me. Mr. Smith, all good? I nodded. It went exactly as I hoped. He pulled away. I didn't look back. It's been years since that day. Jennifer never reached out again. She faded from our lives entirely, like a stain finally washed away. Emily and Jacob are thriving. They love openly, trust carefully, and carry their own lives with strength I admire every day. Me? I stay quiet. Still work part-time. Still keep routines. Still drink black coffee in the mornings. Some nights, I dream of a different life. A life where Jennifer made better choices. A life where we grew old holding hands. A life where my daughter didn't have to whisper her wedding invitation. But dreams fade. What I have is real. Flawed. Scarred. But mine. And in the end, that's all I ever wanted. Not revenge. Not pity. Just peace. And now, I finally have it.